Hello, everyone. This discussion is the continuation of our previous topic about the definition and forms of literature. If you haven't watched the first discussion, you can see the link in the description box below. For today, we will dig into the different types of prose literature. As we discussed from the previous video, prose literature can be categorized into two: prose fiction and prose nonfiction. As we move forward, we will define each category and discuss the different types of literature under them. To start, let us have the prose fiction. Prose fiction presents a story that is invented and not literally true. That is, prose fiction is the product of the author's imaginative and creative mind. Some stories are inspired by the true events, but in order to make the story captivating and interesting, the author needs to make fictional characters from the said events. One best example of this is the movie Titanic. Though the sinking of Titanic is based on a historical event, the love story of Jack and Rose is purely fictional. Next, prose fiction is meant to be read rather than to be acted out or dramatized. Prose fictions are meant for pleasure reading. Unlike drama, the storyline of fiction does not dictate the needed action and facial expression of the character. The setting of the story and the characters' descriptions are combined in the storyline. We will have a separate discussion about writing a script in drama in the next discussion. Lastly, the events depicted in prose fiction are told by a narrator. The narrator plays an essential role in setting the mood and atmosphere of the story. It tells the reader of what is happening and also giving them chance to make assumptions. Moreover, the narrator also determines the punto de vista or point of view of the story, first-person point of view or third-person point of view. We will have more discussion about the elements of the short story soon. This time, let us focus the different types of prose fiction. First, we have the myth. Myth simply attempts to explain the origins of the world and the nature of the world. If we go back to the ancient time, when explanation through science is not that popular, people often seek explanation for natural phenomena such as storms, floods, earthquakes, and the likes. In their primitive explanation, they pointed out that the mystical beings are the very reason for such phenomena. For example, if people experience earthquake, they tend to believe that the god of the earth is angered. So, in order to appease the angry god, they will make an offering. In some ancient customs, they tend to sacrifice a human life. The best example of myth are the story of Prometheus, Pandora's box, Hand of Midas, Cupid and Psyche, and in the Philippines, we have the story of Bakunawa, the moon eater of the Visayan myth. Bakunawa has different names and forms in different regions of the Philippines. The Bugobon named their moon eater as Minokawa, Arimaonga for Maranao, Bawa or Kalulundan for Western Visayas, Tambanakawa or Tambanocano for Mandaya and Bukidnon people, and also for the Manobos. For the Tagalogs, they called their moon eater as Sawa. The Magindanaoans called theirs as Kedu. Olimao, the origin of the word Halimaw, is the term by the Ilocanos. And we have Laho for Kapampangans. Now let's move on to the legends. Legend refers to the unverified story handed down from earlier times, especially one popularly believed to be historical. It is designed to teach lessons about a popular person or from historical figure with facts dramatically altered. The most widely known legend among us is the legend of half-man, half-snake creature in Robinson's Mall. It was Alice Dixon who was rumored to be kidnapped by the snake man creature. However, Alice Dixon broke her silence, telling the public that the story is a complete hokum. Today, we consider this story as urban legend. We also have other legends such as Alamat ng Pinya, Alamat ni Maria Makiling, Alamat ng Mangga, and so on. Another type of prose fiction is the parable. We often hear parable in the Holy Bible. This tells a story that teaches us towards rightfulness. The most popular example of this is the parable of the prodigal son. We also have the fables, specially written for children. The unique characteristic of this story is that the animals were used as the main characters and were enabled to speak like of human beings. The popular fable we have was the fables of Aesop, which include the wolf and the cane, the frogs and the ox, and the fox and the grapes. Going back to our childhood, we may probably have heard of ang leon at ang daga and ang pagong at ang matching. On the other hand, fairy tales are made to tell stories of the adventure of a prince in search of a princess hindered by mystical creatures such as dragons, beasts, and evil witches. The common fairy tales we know are Cinderella, Snow White, Beauty and the Beast, and others. Now let's differentiate short story novels and novelettes. Short stories are stories with a simple plot, meaning the story only presents one conflict for the character to face. It also has a small number of characters. An example of short story is Ang Kalupi by Benjamin Pascual, The Wedding Dance by Amador Daggio, Footnote to Youth by Jose Garcia Villa, our national artist for literature. Novels, on the other hand, has a considerable length because it has a complex plot unlike short story. Novels are divided into chapters where each chapter ends with a cliffhanger. Cliffhanger is the author's technique to make the readers hanging at the end of a certain chapter. It also arouses the readers to continue reading until the end. Some novels do not have cliffhanger at the end of a chapter, while others have it. This is true if the novels have a sequel. Examples of novels are Harry Potter, Percy Jackson, and Angels and Demons. In the Philippines, the two most popular novels we have are Noli Me Tangere and El Filibusterismo. We also have the Ibong Adarna and Florante at Laura. Finally, the novelette. Simply, novelette is a prose fiction that has the characteristics of a novel. The difference is that it is shorter than novel, but longer than a short story. So much for prose fiction. This time, let's have the prose nonfiction. Prose nonfiction presents factual information or expresses a viewpoint. The important characteristic of nonfiction is being factual or true. For the types of prose nonfiction, we have autobiography and biography. Both types tell the records of one's life. The only difference between the two is the author. For autobiography, the word auto means self, which means that the story being told is the story of the author himself. On the other hand, biography is the story of a person being told by another person. Next, we have the diary or journal. It is the daily record of one's life. In some cases, people do it privately and write for personal pleasure. Editorial tells the author's opinion about a subject matter, especially in regard to politics. Usually, we can see editorials in magazines or newspapers. Finally, an essay. Almost similar to editorial, essay allows the author to express his point of view about his interest. Writing an essay requires one to read a lot to support his or her claims. We often experience writing an essay in school, especially when we are tasked to give our reaction to the article or story we read. These are just some types of prose nonfiction. We also have epistolary or letters, travelogues, and blogs. So, we are done discussing the first form of literature, which is prose. I hope you are familiar with the literary pieces mentioned in the discussion. With that, let us end the discussion for now and looking forward to discuss to you the second form of literature, which is poetry. So, have a great day, everyone, and goodbye for now.